Hello everyone and welcome to Snap Take. It is Tuesday, it is new card day, and as this video goes live, so does Human Torch First Steps. This is probably the spotlight card of the month. I think this is likely to be the best card immediately that comes out outside of Mr. Fantastic this month. It is a 3/2, end of turn +1 power. Once per game, if your side is here is full, double this card's power instead. Instead is key. He's not going to get that last power last turn. He will, however, double instead. So if you play him on turn without any buffs, right? If you play him on turn 3, and then you can fill that location, he's going to be a 3/10 at the end of the game. We will happily play a 3/10 as cards like Starbrand have taught us, so we will happily play a 3/10 with North Work, but we can buff him further with a million things, stuff like Surfer, so on, and all that extra energy will also be double. Stuff like Gwenpool, stuff like Forge, and all that stuff will work really well. I think he's going to be great. The big question is going to be, how do we fill his lane? What do we do with him in order to maximize him? So anything that buffs him is going to go really well with this card, and we want to try to fill that lane on the last turn. Since we're filling lanes, I think Elsa Bloodstone, wrong E word, Elsa Bloodstone is going to be really cool with this card, because I don't think you're going to buff this with Elsa usually, although that immediate 3/4 to 3/8 isn't terrible, but I do think you're going to want to buff other things. A 3/10 to a 3/6 is fine if played on curve. So like you'll play a 3/6, right? A 3 that becomes a 3/6 on the end of the game is fine. It's not great, but it's perfectly acceptable. He's really good at Surfer. Surfer runs a lot of buffs. He loves all those buffs. And he's obviously going to work well with the new end of turn SafetyCar stuff. That's not real yet, but we do have a deck to try for that as well. Havoc Small Good Cards runs a lot of end of turn stuff. I'm going to show you what that looks like later on as far as that deck goes, where Cassandra Nova is really good in that deck, but not great, largely because there's just like a dearth of Thanos, or at least there was until I released yesterday's video. There's not a lot of Arisham out there, so that's really good. Mysterio is very helpful for filling lanes. If you play Mysterio on turn 5, you should be able to fill his lane reasonably easy on turn 6 in a Shang-proof way that gets a lot of power. Those decks also tend to run Gwenpool, which is really nice. And I want to leave open the possibility, because, again, we're often wrong about exactly how good cards are. There's a possibility he's bad if you don't play him on turn 3. That could weaken him. But even on 6 with Surfer to fill a lane, that's 8 power. So, like, you play him at the end of the game, he becomes with Surfer, right? Like, he and Surfer are your last play, and you're using him to fill a lane. That's a 3/4. That's a 3/8. You're not, like, super sad at playing a 3/8. Before we get to the decks for him, we are giving away a Mr. Fantastic First Steps this week. All you have to do is sub, like, and leave a comment. Your comment will allow you to win Mr. Fantastic First Steps. We'll tell you what comment to leave later this video. If you're new here, you can follow right here on youtube.com/@SnapChosensPod, where we release 7 days a week of Marvel Snap videos. This is video 2 of the day. We'll also have 2 videos coming for you Thursday. I'll be streaming Friday and about 4 to 5 days a week thereafter at twitch.tv/PulseGlazer. If you want one of the most trusted and consistent voices of Marvel Snap, please do make sure you're following. All right, next up, we've got Heart of the Cards, Torch Surfer. If you have been paying attention to Marvel Snap, if you know the top of the metagame, Heart of the Cards is the most prominent and successful Surfer player and deck builder in the game. I messaged him, right, because I'm currently traveling. If you're new here, I'm traveling around the world as you're watching this. I'm moving to another country, and it's a long story. We'll get to it later in this video. But I messaged Hart in advance. I was like, Hart, I need a favor. I need to know what the Human Torch Surfer build is. And he said, no problem, I got you. And this is what he sent me. So we'll go through why this is the right build momentarily, but for the time being, bada bing, this seems amazing. That's not the right place to find them. You can find Heart of the Cards at youtube.com/HeartOfTheCardsSnap. Make sure it's Heart of the Cards Snap if you're interested, where he does a ton of educational content. Sorry, I copied this from the old Safety Blade version and didn't change the name. This one needs Carter and Sam. Galacta can be Gwenpool. We're reasonably sure that Galacta's better here, but I'm a little less sure. I think Gwenpool might still be better. Fantastic and Herbie can be Surge and Forge. Elsa and Prodigy can be Sage, Gladiator, Makari, Cassandra Nova. I am a little bit partial to Makari in this type of build. I feel like she's really going to be missed. And this list was tested in this exact version with Cassandra Nova and the Human Torch, and we'll show you those stats in a minute. Fantastic First Steps is amazing here, right? We have 3 cards we'd like to buff very badly. We'd like to buff Brood, we'd like to buff Carter, and we'd like to buff Human Torch First Steps. Hitting any of those with a +2 from Fantastic, that we can then give another +2 from Surfer. Remember that Torch is going to double any buffs you give him, while Brood and Carter, if you fill the Carter lane, are going to triple those buffs. So that's obviously incredibly powerful. Fantastic First Steps is a must-have in every Surfer list. This is the type of list that cares about filling lanes. We care about filling lanes for two reasons. We want to be able to keep stuff behind Carter or organize where Carter stuff goes, and we want to be able to fill a Human Torch lane, right? So Sam Wilson allows us to do that really effectively without having to waste extra space. The other thing that that shield does is it lets us effectively use Prodigy. We'll get to that when we talk more about Prodigy. Herbie's got some extra uses here. It gives us extra energy, which can be good if Fantastic especially gives us two. The +1, the double +1s from Herbie are really good, particularly on Human Torch and Captain Carter. Doesn't matter so much on Brood, but on Human Torch and Captain Carter, we love to see that. The other thing that Herbie really does, and I think this is the best, is it gives us a rock, and that rock can fill a lane for first steps Human Torch, or it can get us the right order for Captain Carter. That rock being at least a 6 power card behind Carter, and that can get bigger, obviously, with the Carter buffs. So all three of those are absolutely stellar as far as Herbie goes. Brood is big, triples any buffs it gets. You cannot Elsa Brood properly unless it's like filling a lane, but you can Carter, and then the card next to Carter will get its buff. Carter doesn't actually have to be in the front. It just has to be in the front if you're going to hit 2 cards. You can still hit 1 by playing the back very effectively. Yeah, Carter's incredible stats. You can hit Carter with Galacta. That's a 3/4. That becomes a 3/6 with Surfer and almost auto lane win. Carter is the most vulnerable of their power cards in this deck, so Cosmo sort of handles that and says, no, we're going to win this lane without any trouble. Works great with Herbie, works great with Sam Wilson. Torch First Steps is your general preferred on 3 play. You play it on turn 3, it becomes at least a 3/6, matching your Cassandra Nova on 3 in most matchups, but it can become significantly bigger once more as you hit it with, if you get the double on the last turn, it's a 3/10, but if you hit it with Surfer, Elsa, Herbie, it becomes like a 3/14, which is again lane-winningly silly huge. Surfer's your big buff at the end of the game. Cosmo's here to protect 2 cards. You have to know what your opponent's playing before you Cosmo. You want to either protect Captain Carter from an Enchantress or Human Torch from a Shadow King. Protecting either of those is important. If you threw Prio going for the last turn, even just Surfering, Torch, and then filling that lane will make him a 3/8, which is perfectly respectable. Juggernaut is your cheap lane winner. A little hard to use in this because there's other stuff you'd often rather do, but pretty good. Elsa is your other play on turn 3. Elsa being able to buff, again, Carter even to a 4 toward the end of the game is incredible. Being able to play Elsa early and play Prodigy on it and get +4 for anything you fill a lane with is wild. Being able to use Elsa to give an extra +2 to whatever you play last on a Brood lane. Often Surfer is very, very strong. So you love that kind of thing. Prodigy has several targets here that are absolutely insane. You can use it to hit Captain Carter using Sam's Shield, which is just one lane that you've won. You can use it to hit Human Torch, and then it's going to start adding its own power, and then will double at the end of the game too. Insanely strong. You can hit Elsa for +4 when you fill a lane. You can hit Galacta for +4 whenever you play a card on another lane. You can hit Mr. Fantastic First Steps to try and really amp those up, and you can once in a while hit a Surfer because double Surfer is really strong. Prodigy is absolutely incredible in this. I knew eventually he'd be good. Well, welcome to eventually. And of course Galacta is our buff. Galacta is genuinely, for this particular deck, better with the Prodigy combos than Gwenpool, but I think Gwenpool might be a generally better card. This is going to need a little bit of testing. With this deck, Heart went 10-2 with 77% win rate, and that was Cassandra over the Human Torch, and Human Torch is just strictly better. Turn 1 pass, turn 2 Fantastic over Herbie equals Sam Wilson. Turn 3 we're going Galacta. If we can play Galacta from Sam, we do. If not, Torch over Elsa over Carter equals Cosmo. There's a possibility that Torch or Elsa in the right situations are snap conditions, but I'm not there yet. Turn 4 Galacta, and Galacta can be a buff depending on how much power you think your opponent has. If not, you're dropping a 3. Turn 5, we're going 2 plus Carter, Prodigy, Brood, or Juggernaut. So if any of Fantastic Herbie or Sam, depending on what your situation is, plus Carter, Prodigy, Brood, or Juggernaut. Once in a while, we can do double 3 thanks to Mr. Fantastic. From there, we're going a 3 from turn 5, and Surfer to win the game. Oh, sorry, once in a while, you're going to play a 2 and on turn 5. You're going to play a 2 and Surfer. If you can get Surfer in the right spot so that you're short, you can Prodigy at last turn too. This one has a ton of power. I think this is all but guaranteed to be the best home for Human Torch First Steps, but there are 3 other decks that I'm really excited to try the card out in. Before we go forward, though, please hit that sub, like, and comment if you want a Marvel Snap video every single day, even when I move around the world. We are the most respected voice in the community. If you are willing to check out the best decks on a day-to-day basis, hit that sub button, leave a like, leave a comment. All right, so Derek created this list we featured in, I want to say Sunday's video, it might have been Saturday, it runs a little together, and I took out one card and added Human Torch. I took out Spider-Ham and added Human Torch. Why? Well, because I've got Mysterio in the list, I've got Gwenpool in the list, I've got Herbie in the list, I've got Mr. Fantastic in the list. When you see Bishop, unless Bishop gets Shang-Chi'd, because he often ends up in strong range, this list feels really hard to beat. What if we had a Bishop in this list that wasn't Shonkable? That's fundamentally what Torch First Steps does. We do have to be careful because it's end of turn that the lane fill is a double for Torch First Steps, so we have to be careful with Merlin spells. But outside of that, we have Rhino and Mysterio, so filling that lane shouldn't be a problem, right? It should be just enough power to go over the top. Plus, we can play, that can be our lane that we play a Gwenpool, a lane that we have a Mysterio in, and now we just have one more card we have to play there. Tons of power. Love to see it. Derek created this list. We need Gwenpool, Merlin, Mockingbird, and Sasquatch in order to play it. Hydra Bob can be Spider-Ham or Silver Sable. Herbie can be Sam Wilson. Fantastic can be Surge, Sam Wilson being a good lane filler, by the way. And Human Torch First Steps can be an extra one drop. It was, again, originally Spider-Ham here. Hydra Bob is just a one decent power. It moves so you can unclog yourself. It's nice to have. It's a really good card to be able to play on turn 5. Fantastic First Steps is basically your mini Gwenpool here. The goal, your favorite hit is Mysterio. I was able to get a 2/8 Mysterio, sorry, 1/8 Mysterio from Mr. Fantastic, which is just silly. That is 8 power from the real Mysterio and 4 for each of the fake ones. So that's 16 power for 1 energy. I won that game. Herbie is incredible as well. Gives us that rock to fill a location. Gives us the energy to play everything we want. I won a game earlier where I was able to get an extra Gwenpool on top of my Mockingbird and Sasquatch because of Herbie on the last turn. The extra 6 power won the game. That kind of stuff is, again, great. Merlin is multi-useful here. Being able to get rid of bad locations is obviously great, right? But also, if you don't get a buff on Mysterio, being able to turn those Mysterio clones into either energy or extra cards is really great. Being able to buff a used Herbie or a late game Mr. Fantastic into a 3-drop will make Mockingbird cheaper. All that stuff is really great. Rhino is a 2/5, good stats. That 2/5 also makes our Mockingbird cheaper and fills our Human Torch lane. Mysterio gives us 3 bodies, which makes our Sasquatch -3 cost, our Mockingbird -3 cost. You'll love to see it. It also buffs Bishop by 3. It carries buffs from Mr. Fantastic First Steps and Gwenpool better than anything. Torch is another great card to buff. It is basically our alternate Bishop in this. Sometimes people can go over the top, so power must be controlled. Gwenpool, again, we talked about the use. If we're going to play a late Human Torch, let's say we play a late Human Torch and we play it with Gwenpool, that's already 4 power. We can double that to an 8 immediately. Still not half bad. And then, of course, we have our well, if we play it on turn 5, we can still double it to a 10, which is nice. We have our Mockingbird and Sasquatch, which are just cheap, huge power. With Derek has rank 1 right now on the Infinite Leaderboard, at least as of recording. Turn 1, Bob. Turn 2, Merlin, if no Bishop. Over Fantastic or Herbie, if you do have Bishop. Turn 3 is Human Torch or Bishop, depending on, I think it's probably still Bishop, but I'm going to need a little more testing. Torch being Shang-proof is pretty damn good. Over 2/1. Turn 4, we're going Gwenpool, who is a snap condition if she gets good cards. Over a 3/1 or 2/2. Turn 5, we're going Mysterio and everything else you can. We want to play as many cards as you can. It's part of why Merlin is here. Turn 6, Mockingbird, Sasquatch, Shang-Chi. 2 of them is generally the play. Sometimes we'll play Mockingbird, Sasquatch and just an extra cheap card too. And this list should usually win because it's just a ton of power. It's a ton of power that you sort of drop at the end of the game. Unless Mobius is really, really prevalent in your meta, this is one of the best decks you can possibly play in Marvel Snap right now. If you're interested, please check out twitch.tv/PulseGlazer, where I will be live this Friday if you're interested in checking it out. All right. Mr. Fantastic, free giveaway. Make sure you're following right here at this very YouTube, like and comment to enter. We also post a video most weeks on Comic Book Click. If you like this type of new card video, we do one for every new card on Comic Book Click, except for Human Torch First Steps, because I'm in the process of moving, so things are just going up on my channel while I get that ready. Get ready for the travel blog if you're interested in seeing what my move to Vietnam was like, all my impressions of things, all that kind of good stuff. youtube.com/@PulseGlazer-S6C. We'll have a travel blog up Saturday or Sunday. Come check that out. And if you're interested in the stream, we should be back streaming Friday at twitch.tv/PulseGlazer. Small Good Havoc seems like a really, really good Human Torch spot, not because I think it's completely insane here, but because I just want extra power. I'm very often playing a 3/6 Cassandra Nova in the 3 spot. Being able to play a Human Torch First Steps there seems really good, especially because I can get the extra power on him from Bast or Agent Venom that allows me to play him on turn 4 with a 1-drop and not lose anything. So that all seems really good to me. This seems like a really easy lane win in those situations, and having these really easy early lane wins is one of the things this deck lacks. This is my version of this. Burrs has been the most recent player playing this, top-notch Italian player, and before that, we had Derek, who created this list. All right, this deck needs Sage, Athena, and Nico Minoru. Merlin can be Sam Wilson, US Agent, or Surge. Torch can be Cassandra Nova or Bishop. All right. Hood is here. You don't really want to take the negative from Hood, but you have 4 ways of not doing that. You can Bast Hood, which is a +6, or Agent Venom, which is a +6. You can turn it into a demon, or you can blow it up to draw 2, or you can use Merlin to turn it into a 2-drop or give you extra energy. Any of the above are fine. You don't want to deal with the -3 on the board most of the time unless you are desperate for that demon. Bast is incredible power here. It's +1 on Torch, which isn't anything to sneeze at because that's +2 if you play it on 3, right? It's buff for Athena, Havoc, and Sage along with Hood. If you can get 2 of those, especially if one is Hood, then it's a snap condition. Kitty Pryde is here in order to enable Athena more than anything else. It's just Kitty and Merlin give you that Athena energy. It gives you the ability to play a 1-drop with Athena, and now you can play 1 off curve and still win. Nico, in addition to being really good for Hood, really good for Bast, cards you don't need, is amazing when copying Sage in particular. If you can copy Sage, this card is going to town. Don't be afraid to give a Human Torch +2 either. That seems like it's probably really, really good as well. Because again, that's a +4 buff. +4 buffs is a lot. Speaking of +4 buff being a lot, Havoc is it. You're going to play Havoc on either turn 4 or turn 5, 90% of the time with this list. It's going to take some time and practice to learn which, but once you get the hang of it, that's sort of the last step for this deck. By the way, I really, really badly want fantastic first steps in this list, and I could not figure out how to save my freaking life. Athena is another big power card. She tends to play for about 210 here. Havoc plays for about 210 here, right? 2.8 to 212. So Athena plays for about, generally speaking, around 2.9 to 212. You really love to see that. You can play either one for an absolute ton of power when hit by Bast or Agent Venom especially. Athena is your big power card that's often shock-proof. Merlin, this deck really, really does not like opposing magic, so it shuts that crap down. It handles your Hood. It gives you an extra spell for Athena. Once in a while, it'll turn a card you don't need into something bigger, like Bast. Agent Venom's a 2/5, great stats, and buffs most of your deck. Agent Venom can end up a snap condition. Sage is your closer. Sage and Juggernaut are your closers. They're your last turn plays. Juggernaut takes a lane and wins it cheaply. Sage goes over the top in really effective ways. Sage is the best card in the deck to Nico. You don't really want to Nico anything else, but Sage will keep the buffs when copied with Nico. Torch just gives you access to a nice simple 310. You love to see it. The 310 with a Cosmo in a lane is just going to be hard to beat. Like, let's say you go Agent Venom, Human Torch, Athena, 1-drop there, and then you play Cosmo in that lane later. That is a 15, 18. Let's say that last card is a Nico. That's a 20 power lane, worth respecting, right? And Cosmo can mess up opponents. And then, of course, Juggernaut, the cheap lane winner as well. Cosmo is your protection, so you don't get Shadow King, because Shadow King is real bad for this list. It's all great power. All right, this is just the deck that never dies at this point. This has been around since Agent Venom came out. Turn 1, Bast if Hood, +1, or another target. You can Kitty here too. You can also play Hood if you have Merlin in hand already, and not Agent Venom. Turn 2, Agent Venom equals Merlin over 1/1. Agent Venom if all the good targets are in deck, Merlin if not. Turn 3, Athena +1 or Torch. Turn 4, Torch +1 or Havoc in a 2. Turn 5, Havoc and Sage, Juggernaut or Cosmo. And turn 6, Demon, Kitty, Sage, Juggernaut, Cosmo. Last turn, big tip. You don't have to trigger Athena unless that lane is closed off and you really, really need that buff. Because generally speaking, whatever you're going to play has at least 3 power anyway, and that's what Athena would represent. So don't fall in love with triggering Athena on the last turn, especially if she's a 2/9, which she can be. Turn 3 is 3 power, turn 4 is 6 power, turn 3 is 9 power. If you can play at least a 1/3 Kitty over Athena, feel free to do so. It probably works out for you better in that instance. Please do check out the stream team if you're inclined to see these decks played. Today is Tuesday, so Prashant has been streaming for a while. Hopefully he's still live. Go check him out. If not, tomorrow Gaming Flash X will be on at nighttime, 9 to 10 p.m. Eastern, in order for you to hang. Finally, we have the SafetyCar, and I just want to leave a disclaimer that you probably shouldn't buy the SafetyCar, so they get the extra card, the extra money out of the premium mode. If you're not sure what the problem with that is, I covered it in like 4 different videos last week, so watch any of those so I don't have to keep repeating myself for those of you who watch every video. However, this is a Safety Blade deck. Do I have the Safety Blade here? Yay! Twitch.tv/Safety Blade. Safety Blade, an absolutely prolific deck builder and creator. Basically decided SafetyCar would buff half this damn deck, right? It's going to buff like everything, and then Human Torch is obviously a card that can be buffed that really, really cares about buffs. can find Safety at twitch.tv/SafetyBlade. Again, he's prolific. If you remember the original Professor X Cannonball list, that's Safety Blade. If you have ever played Dracula Dump, that's Safety Blade. He created a ton of meta decks. We need Bob, FantastiCar, Makari, Fantastic, and Athena. Why do we need these cards? Well, very simply, because we are running their end of turn. And that's what we're running here. Torch can be Cosmo. That's the card I cut for Torch, by the way. Hope can be Fastos or Luna. And Merlin can be Surge, although that is going to make our Athena way worse. Kitty Pryde is here for several reasons. Those reasons are Hope Summers and Athena. Being able to activate Athena with Kitty is great. Being able to get cards on and off Hope Summers for extra energy is great. Just that simple. Hydra Bob is an end of turn card. Having access to a 1/6 with FantastiCar is great. It also is a card that you can play in Hope Summers and snap to get offer. Havoc is the hardest card to use in this deck. I find I don't really want Havoc fairly often in the previous version of it, but when you don't see the exact right stuff, or when you do see Hope Summers, having access to a 2/8 is really nice. Athena, again, tends to be a 2/9. You play her on turn 3 with Kitty or a Merlin spell, and then you're off to the races. Fantastic's buff is incredible. It's also an end-turn card, having access to a 2/4. Athena gets the extra 2. Havoc gets the extra 2 from the FantastiCar buff. It's all great. It's all gravy here. And then Fantastic's negative can also let you trigger Athena when you couldn't otherwise. Merlin is giving us spells for Athena, largely. She's otherwise not that great. Being able to get rid of a Shang-Chi or Juggernaut that's been used is nice. But outside of that, Merlin is just sort of here. It's largely here for the Athena. Torch is, again, played on curve, a 2/10. We are fairly often going to play it one turn off because of Athena, which means it's going to become a +1 power at the end of 3. Sorry, at the end of 4, 5, and 6. That's +3. At the end of 4 and 5, it will not get the buff at the end of 6. So that is a 3/8. Doesn't seem worth running until you realize you can FantastiCar it before it gets its buff. FantastiCar it, now it's going to be 6, and now it's a 3/12. We love it. Juggernaut is our cheap winner. We just want Juggernaut and Shang-Chi as our control pieces. Makari comes into play. It gets buffed like it was hit by Surfer as a 3/5, and the turn cards are nice here. Hope gives us the energy to make sure we can do everything. Shang is our power must be controlled, and FantastiCar plays as a buffing Bob. Let's say we play Bob, Athena, Fantastic, and Torch. That's 4 cards. That's a 4/15. If we can manage to get Makari out too, we're at a 4/17. It's a lot of power. Safety swears by this list. I haven't loved it, but Safety absolutely swears this is great, and I think that Torch is going to make it even better. Turn 1, Bob over Kitty. Turn 2, Merlin, Athena, or no Kitty. Fantastic otherwise. Turn 3, we want Athena +1 over Torch over Hope. Turn 4, we're going Torch +1 over FantastiCar. Turn 5, FantastiCar +1 over Havoc and a 3-drop. And then turn 6, we're going Shang, Juggernaut +1. Sometimes we're going to go Havoc and Hope, or Hope on Havoc on turn 5. And then we can go Shang and Juggernaut to end the game and trigger our FantastiCar. This list is kind of a beast. I don't know. This is just a lot of points. This list is coming together. I think we're going to very quickly see this become an absolutely meta list. I think that very quickly means at the end of the month when Invisible When First Steps comes out and we end up cutting Juggernaut for that and just go over the top of a lot of people, or maybe Hope gets cut, one of the two, as we end up going over the top as we can sort of like get double Athena buff, double Havoc buff, double Human Torch buff, and then on top of that buff it all with FantastiCar. Question of the day before we head out of here is my question for you, actually, if you're willing to answer. Would you be interested in the Superman /Fantastic Four First Steps review over on the new channel? The new channel is Pulse/S6C, -S6C, where we'll be doing our travel vlog, but I'm also in a Vietnamese movie theater going to see those 2 movies. So would you like a review of them, of the movie-going experience in Vietnam and my thoughts on those movies? Let me know if yes in the comments, please. It means a lot to me. That's it for today. I'll be back tomorrow with another video. Tomorrow is going to be our Series 4 and 5 buying tier list, if you're interested in that. I'll see you then. Then Thursday, we're going to cover High Voltage, and we've got a ranking of every card coming tomorrow, Snap. So all that sounds good to you. Hopefully you follow, hopefully you sub, and I'll see you tomorrow for some more Snap Take. Peace.